Welcome back to Diener's Diner. Today we're going to be making homemade hot dog buns. First we're going to start off by taking a cup of warm milk, and I did put it in the microwave just to get a good temperature on it. It's about 105. So we're going to take the warm milk and we're going to add 2 teaspoons of dry active yeast. I'm adding all of the dry active yeast to this. And then I'm out of my 2 tablespoons of sugar. I'm going to take a tablespoon of that sugar and I'm just going to add that to the yeast mixture. So I'm only going to add a teaspoon to the yeast and the 1 cup of milk. And we're just going to stir that up and we're going to proof it. We're going to let it sit for 5 minutes to be sure that it gets bubbly and kind of foamy. And then we know that our yeast is active, because if it's too hot, the milk, it won't activate it, and if it's too cold, it won't. So we're just going to let that sit for about 5 minutes, and we'll be back with that to see how it works. I don't know if you can see, but our mixture has definitely proofed, so we're ready to, we're going to set that aside. We're going to take and add to a bowl 2 1/2 cups of flour, and I'm just going to scoop it in the measuring cup. Get it leveled off. 1. We're going to do 2 1/2 cups, and we have a reserve of 1/4 of a cup that we're going to use for when we put it on the surface to flour our surface. So 2 1/2. Okay. If I had a knife, I would use the edge of it. Okay, so we still have a little flour left, and I did pre-measure that, so I'm glad I did it this way. So we've got our 2 1/2 cups of flour, and now we're going to add the rest of the sugar. We started with 2 tablespoons. We did put a teaspoon into our proofing mixture, so we're just adding the remainder of the sugar, and then we're going to put in 1/2 teaspoon of salt. And we're just going to mix this up. Just get it all mixed up. Get your flour nice and fluffy, a lot of air in there. And that's going to help with your recipe. Okay, we got that nice and aired. We're going to put our proofed yeast into the flour. We're going to add 1 of the 2 eggs that we're going to use in this recipe. The 1 egg is going to be used in the beginning of the recipe, and then we'll use the other egg as a wash when we're done baking. We're going to add our egg. And I have 3 tablespoons of melted butter. Now I did let this butter cool so it's not hot. And using either a rubber spatula or wooden spoon, we're going to mix this up, and it's going to become kind of shaggy. Get it all mixed. You can smell that yeast. It's going to be sticky. Okay. As you can see, it's pretty sticky. Scrape down the sides. All right, we've got it all mixed. And I'm going to get some plastic wrap, and we're just going to cover this. And we're going to let it rest for about 5 minutes. Put that plastic wrap on there. and let it rest about 5 minutes. I did not add any oil to the bowl or on top of my dough, so we'll see how this works. I have not made this recipe before, so you're coming along with me. Okay. Okay, our dough has sat for 5 minutes. I did flour my surface a little bit, and that remaining 1/4 of a cup, we're going to incorporate that into our dough. So you will have added a 2 3/4 a cup of flour when it's all said and done. We're just going to get this out. Put it on our floured surface. And with clean hands, you're going to start to knead this and add that remaining flour. I'm going to set my timer for about 4 minutes because I'm going to knead this for about 4 minutes. It's pretty sticky. And if you've been here before, you've heard my dog bark. He only has to go potty when I'm doing dishes or when my hands are dirty, so we're just going to let him sit there and wait. And you just peel that off your hands. I actually should have started out with some floured hands first. We're just going to push it. I say I haven't made this recipe before, but we will see how it works. I'm going to add just a little bit more. Going to clean my hands off first, and then I'm going to get back to this. So I want to start out with floured hands. Okay, I washed my hands clean. I'm going to flour them. And I'm going to get back to kneading this. Don't want to add too much flour because then it can really dry and make your buns crumbliest from what I've heard, but we shall see how this turns out. We're just going to get this kind of smooth. And then I am going to take a bowl I have cleaned already. I'm going to put a little bit of olive oil in there, and I will put a little bit of olive oil over the top of the dough, and we're just going to let that sit in there, and we're going to let it rise for about a half hour. And we really didn't do like 4 minutes of the kneading, but it looks pretty darn good. Okay, let's get some more oil in our container. Must be down to the end. Okay, I'm just going to get that all around so when it rises, it doesn't stick. And I could have used butter in here, but I went ahead with the olive oil. Okay, and I'm just going to pour some on top here. And I just want it so it doesn't dry it out. So we're just going to get this. You don't want it crust over the top of that while it's rising. Okay. That should be good. I'm going to add my plastic wrap back on. Now it's been oiled. And then I'm going to let this sit at room temperature for 30 minutes. Only 30 minutes. So my dough has risen, and I did go ahead and cut these in two. And now I'm going to cut them in four sections. It's rather sticky yet. I'm just going to tuck them under. Forward my fingers a little bit. Tuck them under. And then I'm going to elongate them. And you want them to be about 6 inches long if you can get that much out of it. All right, we've got our last hot dog bun that we're going to put down here. Let's pinch those bottoms together. I added a little parchment to my pan and my egg. I'm going to scramble up my egg and we'll put that wash. We're going to put the wash on. And then we're going to cover it and leave it sit for about 15 minutes. And these are supposed to rise a little bit. I'm not too thrilled about this recipe in all honesty, but we'll give it a try. I've seen other recipes where you can do it a little bit different. It looks like maybe I should take the time to do the making of the dough and let it rise overnight in the refrigerator. And because I needed my buns done today, this is a recipe that I could do to have them done quick. So that's my own fault, and I take full responsibility for it. But next time, I might try the other way. So this is a quick and easy recipe if you need it in a pinch. And that's why I did it. All right. Okay, we're going to let these rest for 15 minutes once I cover them. And I just covered them with another pan on top, and we'll let that sit. Now you're going to want to preheat your oven to 350. All right, they've been rising for 15 minutes. Let's take a peek. Okay, and my oven's been heating at 350, and we're going to bake these for 12 to 16 minutes depending on your temperature of your fridge. And they did get bigger than what I thought they were going to do, so we'll see. Maybe this will be a success. All right, I removed the buns out of the oven, and you can see they're kind of stuck together. We're just going to peel it apart. And I have to say, they look wonderful. They definitely got bigger in size. And I'm going to cut one open. I did let them cool. And it cuts very nice. Doesn't fall apart. Nice and bounces back. I'm going to put a little butter on there and have a taste. In my recipe, it called for milk. I did not add regular milk. I added almond milk, so that might make it a little bit, well, actually, it was no sweetener in there, so I couldn't have made it much sweetener. So, but they turned out lovely. I may just go ahead and make this again. Very good. Breaks apart great. Wonderful texture. The bottom did not burn, nor did the top. Nice and glossy. And if I wanted to, I could put some butter over the top of that. But I think this is a success. If you're looking for a quick, easy, fast to make bun for hot dogs or brats, this is your go-to for the same day. There are other recipes that you can do where you can make the dough rise overnight or let it sit overnight, and then you can have it, you know, ahead of time. And then you can always freeze these for later. Hope you enjoyed the video.